Good morning and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be installing the Total Chaos Bed Stiffeners. Now there's a lot of debate online as to whether or not they're really worth it. The way I look at it is for $200 to $300, why not add them if they help? I'd rather do that than regret not spending the $200 to $300 later. So the idea is they will connect into the factory bolts in the truck and stiffen the bed. And that way they'll prevent sway on your truck bed. One complaint I would make to Total Chaos if they are watching is they sent the bag and it wasn't sealed shut. So now I'm missing a nut that I'm gonna have to try and find and replace. Not a big deal, but I was all excited about starting this right now and completing it. You'd think they'd be able to send it in a sealed bag so that you don't lose parts. So this is what the bed stiffener looks like. So this is the general idea of the bed stiffener. Keep your bed from bending, whether it's through off-roading, uneven terrain, rooftop tent, that sort of idea. So now that I've found all my nuts and bolts after they'd fallen out when I opened the box. So the kit consists of two 3/16" bed stiffeners, 1, 2, 6 5/16" bolts, 12 5/16" washers, 6 5/16" nuts, 2 7/16" bolts, and 2 7/16" washers. So I had a vacuum cleaner on standby because you really don't want to get anything down into those two holes there. You need a Torx 55 or Torx T55, a T40. I had a larger one for when I was using the impact gun, a 10mm socket, a 5/8 socket, brush for cleaning your truck bed if you're not as clean as you should be, sockets, or sorry, socket wrenches, screwdriver to help you remove some of the washers, some tape if you want, and then I had a drill, an impact gun, a 1/2" closed-end wrench, and also just some shop towels to help you clean up. Not super creative, but what I've done is used a bungee cord to hold up the mat. What I'm going to do now is try and clean up to make sure I don't get dirt down inside of the place where the bolts go. Just to be extra sure I've got the dirt out so it won't go in the bolts, I'm just going to vacuum it up. Some people are really good at keeping their truck clean. I've got to learn to do a better job. The idea is to take out bolts number 1 and then switch over here 2 and number 4. So 1, 2, number 4, and that's going to allow us to take out the tail light and be able to make sure that we can not drill in anything we shouldn't when we put in our extra bolts to attach. Now that the bolts have been removed, I'm going to work to pull the tail light out. I've got a towel so that I can rest it on the towel and not scratch the truck bed. So see, I've pulled the taillight out. It's now resting. Tab fits here and there. So this pointer here and then this one there, that's what goes into those two tabs. As you can tell, I've got the truck is a little dirty, but at least I got the taillight out. Now I can proceed with the rest of the work here. So I'm going to hold on the bottom and the top and try and pull it out. Here goes the first one. Now to pull the second. This one actually came out cleaner. The tabs were left in place. And here are the points we were referring to. So when you push it in, you're pushing in against these. You have to line those up. When you're pulling out, that's why you know it. So you're in place here with your bolts and then these tabs. So it's pretty risk-free to pull out. I know that this one came out much easier because I was more confident the second time. So now what we need to work on is removing this and this. So this is a T40 and then this is a T55. Everyone talks about this one getting really hard to pull out. One of my buddies has a second gen Tacoma and he spent a number of days trying to get his out. Hopefully, because my truck is newer, I won't have that issue. I'm going to go with the T40 first and see how we make out on that one. I'm very quickly going to vacuum that up. As I said, I don't want any dirt or rocks in the threads. I'm not expecting this to work, but we're going to try it out. If not, I'll go to the 1/2-inch driver and the breaker bar. But let's see if this little guy can pull it out first. As expected, no go. So we'll go to bigger equipment. It's not every day that what you need is on sale. I lucked out. Canadian Tire here in Canada had the Torx set with 1/2-inch drivers on sale this week. So often what you need is full price when you need it and goes on sale when you don't. I lucked out this week. I'm just going to use a short socket wrench, see if that will work, and if not, I'll move up to the big breaker bar. Now that I've got it loosened up, we'll see if this works. I'm going to go right to vacuuming again. I don't want any dirt in those threads. As you take this portion out, you want to save these in the order that they came out. So I'm just going to use a little screwdriver to pry them off the end of the bolt so that I can take them off and use them in the same order when we use the other bolt to re-secure this. Okay, so just using the screwdriver to try and take them off slowly. So the plastic collar pieces first. Make sure you don't lose these when you're pulling them out. So now I've grabbed what I'm going to call the driver's side bed stiffener. And as you can see, there's a portion where it attaches, the brackets. Those are the tie downs, pardon me. The tie down bar is going to be closest to the cab of the truck. So this is the left-hand one where the tie down steel is on the backside, closest to the truck. So that's going to go in like so. So dry fit to see how that works. So the next thing we're going to do is use the 7/16 provided bolt and washer. That is going to go on top of the bracket or the stiffener. And then we're going to apply the washers that were previously used in the same order. So the washer, the lock washer, regular small washer, and then the plastic one. That plastic washer just sort of acts to make sure that nothing falls out. And then we're going to flip it upside down and put it back into place. I've noticed I've got some rocks that have fallen in the hole, so I'm just going to vacuum them out again. The last thing I'm going to do is put a little bit of blue Loctite thread lock on there. Make sure you pre-cut the cap or the top off the thread lock. So then I'm going to put a little bit on my bolt. And then I'm going to slide it back down into the hole. Now that I have it finger tight, I'm going to use my 5/8 inch socket and just tighten it down a little bit more. I'm not going to go all the way because I want to make sure all the other holes line up. The plan is to tighten this down far enough that we can get access to the top bolt here. My stiffener wants to bend that way a bit the tighter I make it, so I'm not going to go super tight so that I can get that top bolt in. I'm going to put a little bit of Loctite on the 10mm bolt as well, and then I'm going to put that in finger tight to start off. This is the original 10mm bolt that came out of this hole. Just trying to get it in properly. It doesn't feel like it wants to go in. I don't want to strip it. It strips really easily. Because that strips really easily, I'm just going to switch over and do it by, I'm not going to use the electronics for this. Next up, I'm going to put some blue Loctite on the big one that I'm going to install back. That's the Torx 55. Want to be very careful not to strip that as well. T55, going to work by hand and tighten this one back up. Now that I have that most of the way down, I'm going to zip that down as well. Now I'm going to go back with my 5/8 socket and just secure this 7/16 inch bolt down a little bit more. We should have both of the two bottom bolts on the bed stiffener should now be tight. Again, back to the 10mm on the top, just by hand. Want to be careful not to strip it. Now we're going to drill the next 3 holes, number 1, number 2, and number 3. We'll want to be careful. The top one has a bracing plate, so we don't want to drill through and bang that. The other ones are wide open. So again, 1, 2-ish, 3-ish. We're going to go do that now. Got my 5/16 inch drill bit ready. I just put some painter's tape on. I don't know if it'll make much difference, but it makes me feel better not to scratch the tops as I'm going in. And again, remember, don't go too far in on the top, but the bottom 2 are wide open in the back. Now I'm just taking a brush and then a cloth to the back side here so that the paint will adhere. Now that the holes are drilled, what I'm going to do is spray some rust protection paint on the back. So as you can see, I put some more tape on the back just to make sure I didn't spray through and paint anything here. I'm not much of a painting expert, but I picked up some old reliable Tremclad paint and primer. I'm just going to spray the backs of those holes, make sure I get them good. So as you can see, 1, 2, and then the third one's behind the bracket here. I don't think you really need to see this, but just in case, line it up, shoot it at the hole. And the other one's a little bit harder. There you go. I just vacuumed up all the drill shavings a minute ago off camera. Now what we're going to do is go back and install the bolts. So you had 6 of these. We're going to now go bolt, washer, through, then washer, nut. So again, bolt, washer through the holes. Repeat that. Do that 3 times. And then we'll go nut and washer on the back. It's going to be interesting to see how I can get my hands up to do the 3rd bolt behind that bracket. I'll do that off camera, but just so you see how it's going together. I cleaned and then painted where those go. As you can tell, I'm not a great painter. So the washer's on, and then I put the nut on from the back side. Pop the other, again, bolt, washer through the hole. Washer and the nylock nut. So I'm going to try and hold, I put some gloves to keep from getting paint on, but I'm going to try and hold the washer and slip it on between my two fingers, if possible. Is able to do it on the other side? Seems harder this time. Maybe it's easier to go 2 fingers from the top, pointer finger and middle finger. Okay, made it work. I managed to get the nut and bolt, sorry, the nut and washer on the back of the third or the top one. Now what I'm going to do is use the 1/2 inch box end wrench with my driver and secure those bolts tightly. Now to see if I can get up and secure the top one. I'm just going to double check, make sure they're tight. That is secure, so that's the left side complete. I'm going to use a 1/2 inch drive on the bolt, and we're going to use the 1/2 inch wrench on the other side. So 1/2 inch wrench on this side, impact gun on the other. That one's complete. Put them on as far as you can by hand. And then the top one, got to make sure you find the nut. Try and hold it in place. There we go. Now they're all set. Now what I'm going to do is put the light back in. You remember I mentioned earlier, I've got the post here and the other post there. So we're just going to make sure we point those in first, and then we can push it back. So I lined up the first one, line up the second one, and then push it back in. Now I just have to secure it with those bolts I'd taken off earlier. Now again, what I'm going to do, lift that up, remove the towel. You've got the 2 point items here, going in the bottom, going in the top. Line those up, and then we're going to push. You can make sure the cord gets folded properly. Bottom one's lined up, top one's lined up. Push, push. That's really all there is to it. I'm not going to bother using the powered for this. I'm just going to use my 10mm socket. And then going to do the next one by hand as well. I go finger tight as far as I can. And now adjust to my socket. There we go. So as you can see, I've got it completed now. Now undo my makeshift. The reason why I went with the Total Chaos is I didn't feel like cutting up my bed mat. I really like the bed mat. I think it's one of the most important mods to do. Relatively inexpensive when you consider the money we spend on everything else. But it fits perfectly with my bed mat. I still have my anchoring points. And now hopefully my bed is going to be kept a little more stiff. So what do you think? Hopefully you enjoyed the video. Maybe you learned something. I know there's lots of these stiffener videos out there, so thank you for watching mine. Again, the big reason I bought the Total Chaos is so that I don't have to cut my rubber mat. So both are now installed, ready to use. If you haven't already, please make sure you subscribe. My next video is going to be my truck bed rack. Can't wait to do that. So stay tuned. Come on back. Check me out often. Thank you.